A hidden act of kindness, homeless girl's incredible return of billionaire's lost wallet reveals heartwarming truths. Lily hurried through the bustling streets of Chicago, her breath visible in the crisp autumn air. She wore an oversized hoodie, a few sizes too big, but it was hers, snug and warm against her thin frame. Her heart raced with hope as she made her way to the community center, the heartbeat of her shelter life. As she dodged tourists and rich people, their laughter echoing in her ears, she stumbled over something on the pavement. It was a wallet. Sleek, black leather, glinting like an unspoken promise that in an instant, she unzipped it, revealing wads of cash, credit cards, and an ID card with the name Richard Alden. A billionaire. But it was the photos nestled inside that drew her in. A family gathered around a dinner table, a little girl laughing, a man with a warm smile that flickered with memory. Lily's heart ached. She could see the love on their faces, yet she sensed the cracks beneath the surface. She thought about her own family, the bond she had with her mom at the shelter, both fighting their daily battles against the cold world that didn't understand them. The choice loomed before her like a fork in the road. Keep the money, buy food, maybe even warm sweaters, or return the wallet and do the right thing. Her mother's voice echoed in her thoughts, a compass guiding her through the storm. Be the light, Lily, even when it's hard. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, Lily decided. She had to return the wallet. The community center buzzed as she stepped inside. But as fate would have it, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Alden himself, standing alone, his posture stiff and eyes distant. She approached him, her heart pounding in her chest. "Excuse me, sir," she managed, holding the wallet nervously in front of her. Richard's brow furrowed in confusion, but when he saw the wallet, his expression shifted from annoyance to disbelief. "You found this?" Lily nodded, the weight of their worlds crashing into each other. "I thought you might want it back." What unfolded next was a tense exchange, each laden with assumptions. Richard glanced at her baggy clothes, and for a moment, his eyes hardened. But Lily stood tall, her dignity radiating like a beacon. Their stories, though different, touched on the same heartbreak. He saw a spark of tenacity in her, the spark that got him through boardrooms filled with corporate pressure. She looked into his soul, recognizing the sadness behind the veneer of wealth, but as they spoke about family and loss, the realities of their lives painted a complicated picture. Time hung thick in the air as realities collided. Lily, fighting for a place that felt like home, and Richard, wrestling with his empty mansion filled with memories of a family torn apart. Just when it felt like their connection could blossom, Richard pulled back, a decision weighing heavy on him. He had to reach out to his estranged daughter. Would that drive a wedge between him and Lily, or could they both find what they needed in each other? As he stared at the wallet, the connections they'd started to form dangled delicately in the air, leaving Lily's future uncertain. Would hope win out, or would he clench tightly to his past? Only time would tell. Lily felt her heart tightening as she watched Richard's face shift from gratitude to uncertainty. It was like a mirror reflecting her own struggles. Every time she felt a glimmer of hope, the harsh reality of their differences tugged her back down. She could sense he was wrestling with something deeper, something that transcended the mere return of a wallet. "Thank you for bringing this back," Richard said, his voice barely above a whisper. The warmth in his tone held a note of vulnerability that surprised her. "This isn't just a wallet to me. It's everything I've lost." "What do you mean?" she asked, feeling the weight of his words. That he hesitated, glancing at the busy street outside, where laughter drifted through the doors of the community center. "My daughter, she was everything. After the divorce, everything fell apart. I've lost touch with her. This wallet, it was a reminder of moments that are now just memories. As he spoke, tears pricked at the corners of his eyes, and something inside Lily shifted. She felt an urge to comfort him, to bridge the gap between their worlds. "You can still reach out to her," she said softly. "Maybe she's waiting for you to try." Richard flinched, as though her words had hit a raw nerve. "You don't understand. It's complicated. After everything, what if she doesn't want to see me again?" His voice trembled, and Lily felt the sadness spill over. "Complicated doesn't mean it's impossible," she replied, an unexpected fire burning inside her. Despite her own troubles, she believed in the power of connection. People need each other. Maybe that's what you both need." He stared at her, as if seeing her for the first time. There was recognition in his eyes, a flicker of something that felt like hope. "And what about you, Lily? What do you need?" The question hung in the air. It was true, she had been so focused on doing the right thing, on his needs, that she had pushed her own aside. I want a place to call home." The words slipped out before she could stop them, and a lump formed in her throat. Richard's expression softened, and he seemed to ponder this revelation. "I can't promise anything, but maybe I can help." His offer lingered between them like a fragile thread. She had experienced loss, rejection, and despair, but here was a chance not just for him to reconnect, but for her to find hope. Then the bustling sounds of the city suddenly felt too loud, too chaotic. Lily took a deep breath, grappling with the enormity of what existed on the edge of their conversation. "What if she doesn't want to talk to you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Richard's shoulders slumped, any newfound hope dimming in an instant. There was fear in his eyes now, and it mirrored her own. "Then I'll have to live with that regret," he said quietly, pain lacing his tone. Lily wished she could tell him to have faith, to take a chance. But as she glanced at the wallet in his hand, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. Would he find the courage to face his past, or would he bury his feelings beneath the weight of what might have been? As silence enveloped them, there was a flicker of understanding. In that moment, they were two souls caught in a web of dreams and fears, struggling to unlock the path ahead. Can we sit down? Talk more?" she offered, hoping to guide Richard onto a different path, one filled with possibilities, but just as Richard was about to respond, the ringing of his phone interrupted the quiet moment. He glanced at the screen, and dread washed over his face. I need to take this," he said reluctantly, and Lily's heart sank as he stepped aside, leaving her standing alone, her thoughts swirling with questions. What would his next move be? Would he seize this moment of reconnection, or would fear hold him back yet again? As she looked out over the bustling street, the cacophony of the city faded away, leaving her with a single haunting question: was this fleeting encounter about to change them both, or would it all disappear before they could grasp it fully? Lily watched Richard step away, his shoulders slightly hunched as he answered the phone. The tone of his voice changed, growing distant. She could see the flicker of worry etched on his features, and her heart ached at the image of a man torn by loss and fear. She turned her gaze to the chaotic street outside. People rushed by, unknowing of the emotional storm unfolding just a few feet away. Traffic honked irregularly, and a child laughed somewhere down the sidewalk. But in that moment, all the sounds faded for her. It was a fleeting bubble of time, encapsulating Richard's struggles and her own unvoiced desires. What did she want? A place to call home? The thought felt as heavy as a brick on her chest. Home wasn't just about walls, it was about belonging. She wanted to find a sense of security she had never known, a haven from the storms of her past. But could she take the leap into the unknown, especially after being let down one too many times? Richard returned to her side, putting the phone away, his face a blend of determination and defeat. "It was my ex-wife," he said, his voice low. "She said I should stop trying, that I hurt our daughter too much." Lily's heart dropped. She could hear the weight of his despair. "But that doesn't mean you have to give up," she said, her own voice shaking. "What if she's just waiting for you to fight for her?" He looked at her, searching her eyes as if trying to gauge the truth of her words. It feels hopeless, Lily. Every time I think about reaching out, I just hear her angry voice in my head. Fear is powerful, she replied, clenching her fists. But love can be louder. You've got to try. For both your sakes. Richard's eyes softened, and for a moment, he seemed lost in thought. A hint of a smile appeared, but it was tinged with sadness. You make it sound so simple, he whispered. Lily wished it were simple. There was a part of her that wanted to push him toward that leap of faith, to take the chance that she wasn't sure she herself could. They were standing at the precipice of change, but who would take the step? That wallet, Lily said, breaking the charged silence between them. What if it's a sign? A way to reconnect, to show you care. Richard chuckled, but it was a dry, humorless sound. A wallet won't fix broken hearts. No, she replied, shaking her head. But it could be a door. Just a foot in an opening to a conversation, to healing. At that, Richard seemed to consider her words. Hope glimmered in his eyes, just for a moment. Yet doubt still shadowed his face, like an insistent storm cloud. And what about you, Lily? What if your fight for a home ends up in disappointment? Her heart tightened. Maybe that's the risk we take. We're not defined by our pasts. I'm not. He studied her, and in that moment, something shifted. Their worlds collided. Two people standing on the edge of their fears, both unsure yet yearning for something more. I want to try, he finally declared, resolve returning to his voice. Not just for my daughter, but for me. For us. Something stirred within her, excitement mixed with fear. They were at the crossroads, and this could be the turning point they both craved. She felt a surge of courage. Let's face it together then, she said, grasping his arm gently. Just then, his phone buzzed again, interrupting the moment. He glanced at it, and his face paled. It's her. I have to take this. Lily stepped back, her heart racing. This was a new chance at connection, yet here came the fear to undermine it. She fought the urge to press him to stay, knowing this call was crucial. As Richard answered, the tension in the air felt almost palpable. What would she ask? What would he say? Would this be the moment that changed everything, or would they retreat back into their shells once more? And as he spoke, Lily's heart raced. She suddenly realized one truth: sometimes, it only took a single act of courage to start a journey. But would that journey lead them to their heart's desires or deeper into uncertainty as they faced their pasts? Richard's voice drifted to Lily, carrying a mix of tension and restrained emotion. I'm listening, he said, his forehead wrinkling as he took a few steps away from her. The further he moved, the more isolated she felt, standing amid the bustling city that felt so empty. She caught faint snippets of his conversation. Fragments of words, Mia, his daughter's name, followed by a hesitant pause from him. I just want to help, he inhaled sharply. It was clear he was grappling with the weight of expectations and disappointments. Lily felt exposed, as if she stood on stage while he bared his heart to someone else. Yet, every second felt crucial, every breath loaded with the hope that a breakthrough could happen, both for him and for her. After a few agonizing moments, he hung up. Richard turned back, his expression a blend of weariness and something else, perhaps renewed determination. As he stepped closer, Lily noticed his eyes were red, a hint of tears threatened to spill over. She said she didn't want me to call again, he confessed, the words trembling as they left his mouth. Lily's heart twisted. That's not fair to either of you, she murmured. She must know you love her. Richard's fingers grazed the lapel of his jacket, a habitual gesture of stress. Love doesn't change what has happened, Lily. I missed so many moments, how do I fix that? She stepped in, grounding herself in the moment, hoping to convey her sincerity with just a look. You start by trying, don't you? No matter how small it feels. The silence between them stretched, heavy and electric. We both have wounds, Richard said, finally breaking the spell that hung like a pendulum, swaying back and forth between possibility and fear. Maybe I can't fix mine without figuring out the other side first. Then let us take the first step together, she urged, willing herself to sound stronger than she felt. Just speaking those words ignited a warmth in her chest, a flicker of something resembling hope. It all felt so fragile, yet undeniably real. Richard looked at her, the depth of his pain mixing with the first hints of optimism. Really? You want to stick around for all the mess? Yes, I do, she stated firmly. No one gets to pick their family or their past, but we can choose what to do next. Don't let fear bind you. Her chest swelled with the truth of her own words, even as uncertainty seeped into the edges of her resolve. Okay, he breathed out as if only just realizing he had a choice. Okay, I can try calling again. Maybe if I... His voice trailed off, trailing the path of possibilities and imagined futures. The noise of the street rushed back, interspersed with the cacophony of their thoughts. Where fear had once loomed large for both, now the tiniest ember of courage ignited a glimmer of possibility. Can I ask you something? Richard suddenly seemed more vulnerable than before, his courage battling with doubt. What if I do reach out? And what if she stays angry? Or what if she really doesn't want to see me? Lily paused, feeling the intensity of his worries wash over her. What if you reach out and she surprises you? What if she needs you just as much as you need her? Richard met her gaze, and a reluctant smile crept onto his lips. You really think that could happen? I do, she said softly. But it starts with you taking that leap. He opened his mouth, ready to respond, when a startling realization struck Lily. What if they were both reaching for something that could slip away at any moment? What if taking a leap didn't just apply to Richard? As the tension shifted, she knew she had her own leap to make. Just as she opened her mouth to speak again, a sharp, unexpected scream pierced through the bustling crowd. It sent shockwaves through the air around them, shattering their moment and shifting their focus. Richard's eyes widened, and Lily felt her heart drop. What had happened? The crowd parted slightly, revealing a commotion a few feet away. And in that moment, as they rushed toward the disturbance, they both realized that life could change in an instant. Would this new development bring them closer together or tear them apart? The chaos swirled around them, a tug-of-war between fear and curiosity. Richard and Lily pushed through the throng of people who had gathered, their hearts racing, propelled by adrenaline and the desperate need to understand what had unfolded. As they approached the epicenter of the commotion, the scene slowly became clearer. A young girl, her face smudged with dirt and her clothes tattered, stood with a wallet clutched tightly in her hands. The crowd had quieted a bit, murmurs rippling through the people like waves. Richard caught snippets of conversations, people speculating about the owner of the wallet and what would happen next. But for him, and especially for Lily, it was the girl's eyes that captivated them wide with a mix of fear and determination. You dropped this, the girl had shouted, her voice trembling but clear. She took a step forward, offering the wallet to a man who seemed equal parts shocked and relieved. The man, well-dressed and clearly from a different world, accepted it, his brows furrowing in confusion. Richard's heart was pounding in his chest. This girl, who the world might dismiss, had chosen to do something profoundly honest. To return a lost wallet when survival was a daily battle. Do you see that? He whispered to Lily, awe creeping into his voice. Yeah, she replied, her own heart aching for the little girl. She's amazing. The man opened the wallet, flipping through the contents as though he was afraid it would vanish. There's cash. Why would you give this back? He asked, his tone a mix of incredulity and disdain. The girl stood tall, her voice a quiver. It's not mine. I didn't take it. You need to keep it safe, someone might need it. Her expression turned resolute, ignoring the unclear intentions of her surroundings. Lily placed a hand on Richard's arm, squeezing gently. She knows what it feels like to lose something precious, she said quietly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. It's what connects us, isn't it? It shows integrity in a world that often lacks it. Richard nodded slowly, his mind racing. A billion-dollar industry could begin with the respect for lost things. But just then, something shifted in his chest. As the girl stepped back, clearly uncomfortable, her bravery began to deflate under the scrutiny of the crowd. Watching the girl shrink back, Richard felt a sharp tug of urgency. "I have to say something," he murmured. Before Lily could respond, Richard stepped forward, cutting through the gathering. "Hey!" he called out, his voice firm but gentle. The crowd turned, and suddenly, all eyes were on him. "Thank you for returning my wallet," he said, nodding toward the girl. "It's worth so much more than just money. You showed bravery today. You remind us all that doing the right thing matters." The girl looked up, surprised, as the murmurs of approval began to ripple through the spectators. Richard felt a warmth of connection, something that pulsed through the young girl and back to him. "I want to help. I know people can be harsh, but you showed kindness when no one expected it." He took a step closer, bowing down to meet her eyes. "Would you let me help you in return?" Lily's breath hitched. In that moment, Richard was not just a man reaching out to a child, he was embodying hope. They weren't just two strangers, they were fellow travelers moving toward the uncertain light of tomorrow, but what happened next was unexpected. The billionaire accepted the wallet, but the crowd began to murmur again as they witnessed something far more profound than any of them had anticipated. Unbeknownst to Richard and Lily, the act of kindness was about to shine a light on some unforeseen truths that could alter the very fabric of their reality. What they didn't know was how the girl's bravery would set off a chain reaction in both their lives. Until now, there had only been thoughts of the past. But this moment could rewrite their futures. Richard knelt, keeping his gaze locked on the girl, as the crowd's murmur turned to hushed whispers. He could see her trembling, caught between uncertainty and the weight of their collective attention. "What is your name?" he asked softly. "I'm Mia," she replied, the name almost a breath, as if she were afraid to share it out loud. "Mia," he repeated, letting the syllables roll off his tongue with warmth. "That's a beautiful name." A faint smile danced across her lips at that, a flicker of confidence sparking in her eyes, but before Richard could continue, the wallet owner, the well-dressed man, interjected. "This is all very touching, but let us not forget what just happened here," he said, his voice firm and echoing through the stillness. "I'm not interested in theatrics. I want to know why this girl felt the need to return what doesn't belong to her." Richard felt a knot of anger twist in his stomach. The man's dismissive tone cut through the kindness of the moment like a knife. He opened his mouth to respond, but Lily stepped beside him, determined and visibly brimming with empathy. "Mia did the right thing," she said, her eyes narrowing at the man. "She showed integrity when there was no reward for her. Maybe you could learn something from that." The crowd responded with murmurs of agreement, and Richard could see the tide beginning to shift. Something electric crackled in the air. Perhaps it was the realization that Mia's act of honesty was a spark igniting a fire of compassion within the crowd. With a shaky breath, Mia glanced around at the growing support. It emboldened her. "I didn't know it was yours," she said, her voice getting stronger. "I just saw it lying there. I thought someone would miss it." The crowd turned sympathetic eyes her way. People began to share their own stories of loss, each tale weaving a thread connecting them in unexpected ways. Richard felt a warmth spreading through him, the hope in the air palpable. He watched as different faces flickered with emotions: remorse, pride, relief as they realized what they had all become part of. A woman in the back cried out, "You're a brave girl, Mia." Her voice rang out clear above the others. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Richard felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes, filled with an overwhelming sense of community. This wasn't just about a wallet anymore. It was about uniting over a shared experience of morality, kindness, and humanity. This moment, right here, could transform them all. "Mia," he said, stepping closer again. You've shown everyone here that generosity exists in places we don't often look for it. We should celebrate honesty and kindness. What can we do for you now? The crowd hushed again, waiting for her response. The atmosphere hung heavy with expectation, an emotional weight pressing in. Richard could only hope Mia would allow her heart to open, to let them show her that the world could be a safe place, filled with warmth and support, but then something shifted. A voice cut through the serenity, harsh and skeptical. What do you want from her? It was the same man, and he was seething. Is it all a ploy for pity? Richard felt his temper flare. He couldn't let this moment be extinguished, not after everything Mia had done. He took a step back, his gaze drifting to her small frame quaking slightly under the weight of expectations and doubts. Then, without warning, the girl lifted her chin. I just want to make sure we all look after each other, she said, her voice steady and clear. That's what we're supposed to do. The crowd erupted into applause, their faces brightening with understanding. Richard felt a swell of pride for Mia. She had found her voice, and in doing so, she had made a profound point that resonated deeply. But beneath the cheers and encouragement, Richard sensed a lurking tension. What lay ahead wasn't just about kindness, it was about the harsh realities of life, the very circumstances that made Mia the brave girl she was. As the crowd began to disperse, a pair of strangers approached. Their faces were drawn, and there was a heaviness in their steps. Richard noticed them surveying Mia, sharing hushed words. He turned to Lily, his stomach churning as he felt a new wave of uncertainty wash over him. This isn't over, is it? Lily shook her head, her eyes widening in realization. No, it's just beginning. In that moment, the thrill of hope mingled with the chill of impending challenges. What revelations awaited them now? What journey would they embark on together? Their hearts raced, for the unexpected would soon come into play, shifting the ground beneath their feet once more. Richard watched as the pair of strangers made their way through the dissipating crowd. There was something in their gait, a heaviness that felt out of place amid the newfound camaraderie surrounding Mia. He felt a tug at his curiosity. Who were they, and what did they want with Mia? Lily's arm brushed against his, a reminder that they were in this together. As the crowd began to dissipate, she leaned closer. Do you think they recognize her? Maybe, he replied, his voice low. He observed the strangers more closely now. One was a woman with sharp features and an expression that hinted at sadness, while the man beside her was burly, with tattoos peeking out from under his sleeves. Together, they approached Mia with caution, as if they were stepping through a minefield. Do you think they're here to support her? Lily whispered, although her tone carried a trace of doubt. Richard shrugged, feeling a wave of protectiveness wash over him. He wanted to shield Mia from anything that could drag her down after the bravery she had just displayed. She was still a child, while these strangers felt like looming shadows. When the man spoke, his voice was low and gravelly. Mia. He called, causing the girl to turn. Richard clenched his jaw, silently willing them to approach gently to not crush her spirit. Mia, it's us, the woman added, her voice laced with an urgency that made Richard's stomach twist. We need to talk. Mia stepped back, unnerved, her trust faltering like a candle's flame in the wind. Who are you? She asked, her own voice wavering. Richard's heart raced as he sensed her fear. You don't need to talk to them, he said, stepping in front of her. They're not here for you. Mia, please, the woman begged, her eyes glistening with unspilled tears. Just listen for a moment. The tension was a thick fog, surrounding them like a storm cloud. Richard felt his instincts flare, but deep down, he could see the flicker of recognition in Mia's eyes. Mia. His voice softened. You can do this. You're not alone. If you want to hear them out, I'll stand right here. Her gaze switched from Richard's reassuring grip to the strangers, a mix of grief and resolve brewing inside her. I guess I can listen. As she stepped forward, Richard felt a pang of anxiety. He wanted to lasso her courage and shield her from the looming sadness that seemed to envelop the two adults. "What do you want?" Mia asked, her tone guarded but steady. The woman took a breath, as if the weight of what she was about to say threatened to buckle her knees. We're family," she said, each word like a pebble thrown into still water, creating ripples of uncertainty. The crowd had faded, leaving a void filled only by the tension pressing in around them. Richard could feel the air thicken, a shared disbelief hovering like dust motes in the sun. Family? Could that really be true? "I thought I was alone," Mia whispered, her eyes widening as if the realization was flooding her heart with light and shadows all at once. The man stepped forward, his voice softer now. "We want to help you. We've missed you, Mia." "Missed me?" she echoed, her voice trembling. "Why now?" Richard felt his heart quicken, a sense of urgency flooding his body. The pieces were beginning to fit together, but at what cost? Would this be a redemptive moment for Mia, or would it uncover more pain than healing? As the strangers exchanged meaningful glances, Richard realized they were revealing layers of their connection to Mia's stories that have been woven into the fabric of family, loss, and longing. "Mia," he said gently, "you don't have to make a decision yet. I'm right here." But as she looked at him, there was a spark of something more than just fear in her eyes. Was it hope? Or was it the shattering realization that her past was not only behind her but also clawing its way into her present? The moment hung fragile in the air, full of possibilities yet suffocated by uncertainty. Mia was on the cusp of a revelation that could change everything, but would she find what she needed, or would the ghosts of their pasts overwhelm her? As the next words fell from the stranger's lips, Richard took a deep breath, wondering if this was the turning point they all needed or a descent into chaos. Mia stood there, caught between the familiar and the unknown. The woman's vulnerable expression tugged at her heart, but the shadows of doubt clouded her mind. She could feel Richard's steady presence beside her, but this wasn't just about him anymore. It was her life, her past, and these strangers held pieces she had long buried. "Mia," the woman said again, her voice trembling slightly. "We've been looking for you. We didn't know where you were." After she hesitated, glancing at the man beside her. "After that day." Mia's heart skipped. That day. A bitter taste filled her mouth as memories flooded back, flickering echoes of chaos and fear. She had tried so hard to push it all away, but now, with just a few words, it was flooding back. "Why didn't you come sooner?" Mia finally asked. Her voice was firm, but deep down, fear gnawed at her. The man sighed, a heavy weight on his shoulders. "We were scared. The things that happened, it changed everything for us. But we never stopped searching. We thought maybe you were gone for good." Lily shifted uncomfortably beside Richard, her eyes darting between Mia and the strangers. "What happened that day?" she whispered to Richard, concern etched in her features. Richard's knuckles turned white as he clenched his fists. This was not a story he wanted Mia to relive. Before Richard could respond, Mia took a deep breath. "Are you saying you didn't care? Just because it was hard for you?" The edge in her voice startled her, and she stepped back, wishing she could reel in the words. "We didn't want to hurt you more," the woman said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "We thought it was best to let you go. But then we realized we needed to find you, to make sure you were okay." Richard glanced at Lily, they both felt the tension rising. Would this conversation heal the wounds, or would it rip them further open? The thought of Mia being hurt again made him tighten his jaw. Mia shook her head slightly, trying to process it all, the sun glinting on her hair and momentarily blinding her. "I don't even know if I want to see you. Even if you are family," she said, her voice faltering. The woman stepped closer, her hands outstretched. "Please, just listen to us. We're not here to hurt you. We want to understand. You have family who loves you, Mia. You're not alone in this." A flicker of emotion crossed Mia's face, a hurt, a longing intertwined with skepticism. She cast a sideways glance at Richard, searching for reassurance. He nodded subtly, urging her to trust her instincts. Even if I wanted to listen, Mia replied, her voice shaky but steady, what do I know about you? Maybe I should have stayed alone. Maybe you shouldn't have been alone at all, the man said softly. We've lost so much, but we still have hope. We believe in you. Hope. The word echoed through Mia like a bell tolling, reverberating against the walls she built. She didn't know how to let hope in anymore. Richard sensed the walls beginning to crack, the beginnings of something that could either free Mia or break her completely. You deserve the truth, he said, his voice steady, like a lighthouse guiding a ship through a storm. Whatever it is, you're not in this alone. We'll face it together. A silence enveloped them, thick and heavy, as Mia weighed her options. The air was electric, charged with emotions pulling her in every direction. She could feel the weight of her decision upon her shoulders, and for a moment, the world outside faded away, and then, as if triggered by an unseen force, the woman whispered one last thing, you're safe with us, Mia. You have to believe that. Mia's breath hitched. Did she dare to hope? The answer was just within reach, but did she want to grasp it? In that moment, the past and present collided, leaving her breathless and uncertain. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over their gathering, Mia could feel the weight of her family's history looming over her. What would it mean to open that door? As doubt flickered in her heart, one question burned brightly, would it be worth the pain, or would she find salvation on the other side? Mia stood frozen as the words hung in the air. She stared into the eyes of the woman who claimed to be her family, searching for any hint of deceit, but all she found was sincerity. The late afternoon sun cast a warm glow around them, highlighting the anguish etched on the woman's face. Mia began, the weight of her hesitation almost too much to bear. I don't know if I can believe you. You say I'm safe, but how do I know you won't hurt me again? The man beside her stepped forward. Mia, we never meant to hurt you. We were young, naive, caught up in a whirlwind that we couldn't control. But we've changed, we've grown. We want to share our lives with you and make up for lost time. Lost time? How can you even talk about time when so much was stolen from me? Mia shot back, her voice trembling with raw emotion. You think years of silence can just vanish because you suddenly show up? The woman reached out gently, her fingers brushing Mia's arm. We understand your anger. We don't expect forgiveness right away. We just want a chance. Let us tell you what has happened since that day. Mia looked to Richard, whose eyes remained locked on hers, steady and steadfast. He didn't try to speak, knowing that this moment was hers to navigate. What if I say yes? Mia asked, the uncertainty lacing her voice like a fraying thread. What if I listen to your story? What then? What if it's worse than I remember? It might be difficult, the woman admitted, her voice cracking. But it's the truth, and you deserve to know it. There's so much we've kept hidden, and it's all tied to you. What do you mean? Mia asked, her curiosity momentarily sharpening through the fog of confusion. Your mother, she sacrificed everything for you, the man said, his voice steady now. We can explain. All the reasons we had to let you go. It was never about not caring. It was about trying to protect you. Mia felt a stir of emotions, anger mixing with the cautious flicker of hope. Was it really? Or was it just easier to walk away? She whispered, her voice barely audible. It wasn't easy, the woman said fiercely. We lost our way too, Mia. And when we realized what we had done, it broke us. We want to make it right, if you'll let us. Mia took a deep breath, the air suddenly thick with unresolved pain. She thought about her life since that day, years spent dodging shadows, chasing a self she could barely understand. Could hearing their story bring her solace, or would it dig her wounds deeper? Richard reached out and took her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. You don't have to do this alone, he reminded her softly. No matter what happens, I'm right here. But if you want to know, now is the time. Mia's heart raced at the thought of revisiting the past. She felt like she was standing at the edge of a great chasm, with only a fragile rope to hold on to. Taking a step forward could mean falling, but staying meant living in the shadows forever. She whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of everything she felt. The woman stepped closer, her eyes pleading. Please, just listen. We promise you'll understand who you are, and maybe even why we did what we did. In Mia's chest, her heart pounded hard against fear and curiosity as she weighed their words. Trusting them could mean healing, yet it could also bring more heartache. As the sun dipped below the horizon, cloaking them in dusk, Mia's mind raced with questions. Could she open that door? Could she allow her family to step back into her life? Feeling the weight of both options, a single question loomed large in her mind: could she really face the truth, or was she destined to repeat the cycle of pain? And as the sky darkened, the shadows closed in. What would her choice be? Mia stood at the precipice of emotion, caught between nostalgia and fear. The strangers before her were a part of her history, a history she desperately wanted to understand, yet the raw wounds of abandonment bubbled just beneath the surface. Please just listen, the man urged again, his voice steady yet quivering. Let us explain. It's a part of who you are. The weight of the moment pressed on her chest, and she watched as understanding flickered in Richard's eyes. His warm hand still enveloped hers, offering a lifeline amid the chaos that threatened to ensnare her spirit. What if your story only brings me more hurt? Mia challenged, the skepticism lacing her tone. You walked away from me once. Why should I trust you now? The woman opened her mouth to respond, but the words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Richard squeezed Mia's hand tighter, signaling her strength in the uncertainty of this moment. You can take your time, but it sounds like they're ready to share. It's your choice, Mia, he said gently. You know what you deserve. Mia turned his way, seeing the genuine care in his eyes, the unwavering support he offered like a lifebuoy in the sea of mistrust. It was a choice, an opportunity to unearth clarity or suffocate further in doubt. She inhaled slowly, feeling the weight of her breath as it deepened her resolve. I'll listen, she finally said, her voice steadying as if she'd discovered a newfound courage. But it better be the truth. I don't want to hear any excuses. A wave of relief washed over the woman's face. Thank you, Mia. It means everything. The man nodded, gratitude written clearly in his features. We tried to protect you from a life that felt impossible, he began, his voice carrying the tones of regret. After that day, we lost everything: our home, our family. We thought you would be better off without us. We were young and scared, lost in a world we couldn't navigate. The woman continued, her eyes glistening as she looked at Mia. Your mother made the hardest choice of her life. She loved you fiercely and believed you would have a better future if she let you go. We've searched for you ever since, longing for the chance to explain. Mia's heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Is that why you've waited so long? She whispered, unsure whether to feel anger or empathy. Because it was easier. Not easier, the man quickly interjected, his voice firm yet trembling. It was heart-wrenching. Every day I regretted it. But we thought you would have a better life, away from our mistakes. Mia's stomach twisted at his words. Did sacrifice truly equate to love? A longing to reconnect rose within her, yet shadows of doubt lingered. Could they still love her when they left her? Richard sensed her turmoil. He stepped forward, challenging strength and vulnerability to dance within her. Healing begins with understanding. You have the power to shape your path now. Together, we can face whatever answers unfold. His unwavering determination ignited a spark in Mia. She was not alone, she had a champion beside her, bolstering the hope she warily clutched. The potential for resolution shimmered softly beyond her fears. All right, she said, her voice steadier. You want to explain? Start from there. I was a child who didn't ask to be abandoned. The atmosphere shifted as truths began to unfurl. Every story was an unraveling thread connecting the past, each echo resonating in cadence with her present. The woman detailed every sleepless night spent worrying, every tear shed in silence, each moment where their hearts ached for Mia's defenses softened, the weight of their sacrifice settling around her. Perhaps they were just broken pieces, fumbling in their own lives like she had for so long. Was it truly possible to find healing there? As they spoke, a spark ignited a flicker of something that resembled hope. The shadows of her doubts began to slowly dissipate in the warm glow of newly discovered connections. Feeling emboldened, she asked, "What if I could forgive you? What would that mean for us?" "Everything," the man breathed. Tears glistening on the edge of his eyes. "It would mean the world." Mia could see their sincerity. In return, she felt the tender tug of familial attachment blooming, hesitantly battling against years of pain. She took a deep breath and realized this was her moment, a chance to rewrite her story. "Then let's move forward," she said softly, courage still awash in her heart. "Let us talk about what comes next, together." Richard's expression turned lighter, a hint of pride glowing in his eyes. They stood at the cusp of something new, a tentative understanding stitched from the scraps of the past woven into the fabric of the future. "Together," Mia echoed, nodding firmly. "No more shadows." As they began to weave their stories, Richard felt a swell of warmth coursing through him. They'd both been on a long road toward this moment, links in the beautiful chaos of humanity. The air crackled with the promise of new beginnings. And that flicker of hope. It was no longer just a flicker, it transformed into a warm flame that held the power to illuminate their lives. In the distance, the city pulsed with life, unaware of the transformation that had unfolded in its core. Together, they took those tentative steps towards a future bright with possibility, an interconnected tapestry of healing, love, and understanding woven tightly in the bond of family, and just like that, a hidden act of kindness unraveled into a revelation, revealing the heartwarming truths they each needed most. Now, as you witness this incredible transformation, this is your moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this amazing community, comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below, and for those who crave inspiration, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your voice matters, and your actions ripple through our community.